Last question is from Fulvio Castle. What's the best way to reduce overall inflammation during very stressful times?
There's a lot of things that have been shown to help modulate inflammation, but I'll give you the three that make the biggest difference. One is to stay well hydrated, so drink adequate amounts of water. This is actually a big deal. When people are stressed out, studies tend to show that when people are stressed, some people drink less water and eat less food. So they tend to become more inflamed because they're just so stressed, they're not even thinking about, drinking or eating. So drink adequate water. Number two, prioritize sleep.
Yeah, quality sleep.
Sleep is the stress antidote. Any stress, physical stress, emotional stress, psychological stress. Sleep is like it's a medicine for this kind of stuff, and because of that, it does reduce inflammation. And then the last thing is to increase your intake of omega-3 fatty acids, in particular EPA. That has been shown to have pretty profound effects. So those are the two big ones.
Yeah, those are the obvious big ones, I think. And then I think there's this idea of looking at your total stress bucket or stress volume, right? Like there's lots of things that we do that are healthy for us, i.e. working out. Working out is a good thing and it's healthy, but it's also a stress to the body. Not sleeping very well, that's a stress to the body. Jumping into a cold plunge, that's a stress to the body. Getting in a 120-degree sauna, that's a stress to the body. Fighting with your wife, that's a stress to all these things are contribute to the overall inflammation. And so recognizing when maybe my home life has been a little more stressful than usual, and I've also been taking a long at work. Well, that's probably not a good idea to be doing hardcore hot cold therapy and training like for an hour and a half inside the gym. Like that's learning how to assess your entire stress bucket of stuff and recognize when you are overreaching in maybe multiple of these categories. And then just because cold plunging, hot sauna, working out, these are all quote unquote healthy stressors, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't adjust those in those times of your life.
That's a big misconception, I think, that is a great point, because depending on like some of those bigger stressors, like your work, your relationships, like all these other things that like might be like having you spun up and to the point where the stress is contributing towards inflammation, and now you're trying to add more of these like hormetic stressors to counter those. It's not going to be countering those. We got to think about restorative methods, which is usually sleep driven, hydration, and also like the types of foods you're consuming. And you might want to like kind of turn, the knobs a little bit more in that direction, and maybe reduce the amount of hormetic stressors fit, your training, your cold plunging, those types of things.
Do you guys have go-tos for yourselves when you feel like, I guess, over-inflamed, like when your body feels kind of tight and whatever? Do you guys have anything that you guys...
I mean, I don't have a single thing. I think it's exactly what I just told you, is I check in with myself and I go, obviously, let's say like I'm dealing with a bunch of inflammation because I know I overreached in a workout, right? And then I'm like, because I can feel it, it's like, oh shit, I did too much. Yeah. Then I kind of evaluate everything. I go like, okay, how has my sleep been? Oh, how is home life going on? Oh, how is work? Oh wow. Now that I think about it, I got a lot of stuff going on right now. You know what? This week I'm going to scale back on this. Mm-hmm. Maybe this day, I was going to do a hard training session. Maybe this day I'm going to just go for a nice long walk, or maybe I'll do a mobility session for 45 minutes and do more internal type of work. And so I think when I find that I'm really inflamed or I overreach in a workout, it always is a trigger for me then to like do a full evaluation of all of my stress and how balanced or imbalanced am I, and then scaling back in the areas that I need to. And what's included in that is also diet, right? So you have people that are in a extreme diet because they want to get into shape and all those things. This might be a time where I need to be fed. Maybe I've been cutting hard for the last week and all these things. It's like, it's time for me to...
We're opposite. Maybe you've been bulking for too long.
Right.
This is one of those too, like where I like that I went through kind of the elimination diet process of going down to just, reintroducing things one by one, because now I know which ones really do contribute a lot to the inflammation that is accumulating, and so I will adjust that, and I'll be like, oh wow, I'm definitely in that state right now. I need to really pay attention to what I'm consuming, and then also get more quality sleep, and then I do like adjust my training so it's more restorative.
Yes, static stretching for me is a really it's not a cure, but it's a simple, immediate relief. If I feel tight physically, if I can spend 20 minutes stretching on the floor, like just static stretching. I think part of it's because the static part obviously helps get the CNS to calm down, but then also when you're holding a static stretch, you have to calm yourself down to do it. So it kind of serves as like a meditative,
nice
practice too.
I mean, I guess that's it. You're bringing up something too. It's making me think of I guess there's certain type of inflammatory responses that I think I would probably combat it in different ways, right? So, I mean, if you're really inflamed from overtraining and stuff like that, like a cold plunge day and doing something recuperative like mobility would be like a phenomenal way to combat inflammation there. If I'm inflamed because I've been eating Five Guys burgers and stuff like that, like this perfect time to go down to like an elimination diet and head that path. If I'm inflamed because I'm just overwhelmed with like total stress, work is stressful right now, wife is stressful right now. Okay, maybe an hour of meditation that day is like a better way to approach it. So, I mean, really, if you're feeling inflamed like that, like systemically, like then for me, it's like this is the time to do a check in with yourself on what are all the stressors that you have going on, and then what is the best countermeasure to those specific things, right? And a lot of times that is rest and recoup.